Two, one, and we are recording with the king of misinformation himself, enemy of the state, conspiracy theorist, and by all that, I mean a very credible investigative journalist who's been stomped out by anybody that fears the truth, Mr. George Webb. And yeah, so figured get right at it. Episode 879, Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. 2 days after the raid, the FBI raid at Mar-A-Lago, and you think it could have something to do with Trump, origins of COVID, biolabs, Ukraine. Take it away.
Well, well, Tommy, first of all, great seeing you again. It's been a while. I've been in England for 2 weeks or so, and so I've been away, but now I'm back, and I don't go into these stories going, you know what, I want to write a story about this.
Yeah.
I start with, okay, what is the precedent? What led up to this, right? And so what led up to it was this guy Peter Navarro got subpoenaed, and he ignored the subpoena, supposedly trying to make a hero out of him. But then he supposedly got stopped at an airport because he ignored the subpoena, but he didn't get arrested. Another kind of red flag. And then it comes out that he has a private email. So he starts this private email during the COVID crisis. So anytime somebody who works for me, and if I'm like putting myself in the place of the president, all of a sudden starts personalizing and using a personal email, and I'm busy. It's in the middle of COVID. Should we do remdesivir? Should we do mRNA? All these things. Do we have oxygen tents? Everything he was dealing with. You don't notice in a long email string if somebody's using a private email or not,
Yeah.
but it's sort of like getting ready to pull the rug out, because if it's private email, it's discoverable in a court. And that makes it sort of like, I'm collecting information on you now for your first mistake. And this email this isn't the first time it's been leaked. There was already another leak while Trump was still president, questioning and second guessing his handling of the coronavirus. So I can't wake up and go, you know what, I want this to be about Jeff Epstein,
Yeah.
or I want it to be about this, or I want it to be about that. I have to follow, the email trail. So that's what I did, and I wrote a couple Substacks about that and put the evidence out there, and just to remind people. And here we go.
And the lawyer that signed off on the FBI raid, that was also one of or the attorney for Epstein.
I'm not sure. I mean, I thought that he represented Larry Vasosky's, who was Epstein's pilot, his firm, but maybe he represented Epstein. If you're a judge, you still have rules that you have to go by. Everything can't be, well, if it's not a Trump appointed judge, I'm going to just say it's corrupt judge. And I see a lot of this going out. That's fine, but again, it's covering up the fact that one of his private insiders decides to stab in the back and start collecting private email.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that I see the Epstein thing as almost a diversion. It's like, well, why are you not concentrating? This is the thing that Hillary Clinton had with the Blackberries, with the private email Blackberries. Again, a really unusual practice, and that's the smoking gun. So you got to follow the smoking gun.
Do you think there's any correlation with the Inflation Reduction Act, where they're hiring 87,000 new agents, which will make it bigger than the Pentagon and the Justice Department combined?
Well, I guess they
Is
could,
is, is
well,
this all
stadiums.
together? The creation of a new army, raiding ex-president's house. Do you think that these are all together, kind of Ukraine shedding light on the corruption, or is this just the beast moving forward?
That's a good. I didn't put those things together. I always wonder. It's such an outrageous act. It's like This like Lincoln going and like raiding Lincoln's home or Washington's home or even Obama or even a recent president. You have to be like really sure about your law, and you have to have an FBI informant that says those COVID documents for emergency approval of remdesivir are in box 14.
Yeah.
And it's in a lock cabinet when we came out here 2 weeks ago for the Navarro
Yeah.
subpoena. So, but I don't associate all that other stuff. I don't connect those
It's
dots.
yeah. The US government's not necessarily a monolith. Those could be different. It's a
I,
massive organization. It's like 2 million people. That you're right. That might not necessarily be. It kind of
could
looks like,
be a good diversion. It could be a good diversion from 87,000 IRS agents. Pretty soon they're going to just have destroyed every business. So who are you going to collect the taxes from?
well, that's why the new thing also says that they'll all be armed and authorized to use deadly force if necessary. It's from the IRS website. The reason I think it looks all related is not necessarily what these things are. An FBI raid on a mansion in Florida of an ex-president, the creation of 87,000 new IRS agents, disinformation governance board. I'm looking at it as what's the raw distillation of all of it? It's a naked grab of power. And it seems
Yeah.
like it's either that they're confident because they're nearing the end game, and it's kind of like the analogy I always use is like it's like football, and it's like fourth quarter Super Bowl. You're either like you're either like doing a trick play or something, or the quarterback's going after Tom Brady and he's like, if I get hit again, I'm gonna break my leg. But the whole purpose is to win the Super Bowl, so he doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'll heal in the offseason. You're either doing it because you're about to win the fucking trophy and they're like, let's just run up the score. So you're either confident, do some fucking trick play, throw it to whoever, and then they score, then you're up by 9 touchdowns with 10 seconds left. Or you're doing it because it's the end of the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl and you're down by 1 point and you're like, I'll fucking bum rush this. I don't care if they paralyze me. We're gonna win this thing. Either way, you're either doing a crazy move because you're so far ahead you don't give a shit anymore. You're like, we're just gonna run up the score, or it's desperation. You're like, we're gonna do this Hail Mary play. That's how I always look at it. And one is good. It means they're desperate, which means they're cornered, which means for whatever reason they think that their power is coming to an end. The other is it's just like nuking Hiroshima. It's like we have such air superiority, we just don't give a shit.
Well,
I don't know.
I could see the IRS raids being like a Trump raid in terms of like third or a Roger Stone type raid. I really haven't seen the video from the Trump raid, but like the Roger Stone type thing where it's 30 people and you cover all the exits, you cover the canal, and you have the helicopter just in case. Howard, I mean, Roger built an
Stone.
ultralight,
Yeah.
and the whole thing. You got every option, and then this becomes a confiscation, because I think what happened with the corona is so much small business was wiped out. Like I said, it it's squeezing. It kind of reminds me when the kings of old, like King John and whatnot, the taxes were so onerous from the Crusades and they lost like they won once early on and got Jerusalem, but then they lost 8 times in a row.
Yeah.
Then they come back and go, oh damn it, we lost, we're going to increase taxes even more.
Yeah.
you know uh the 87,000, to me, that number is, we're going to be doing raids in 30s and 40s,
Yeah.
in overwhelming force type. And maybe the connection is you can expect what Trump got. So it'll be so clear in your mind when the IRS comes calling, it's going to be 40 people.
Yeah.
You know,
We can ban a sitting president from social media. We can ban you. We can raid next president's house. We'll raid you. That's what it seems
yeah,
like too.
psychologically, that does seem to be that makes sense to me,
Yeah. I
because
mean, evil,
like,
but it makes sense.
well, it's sort of like, they used to call it coyote on the fence. Coyotes are coming and eating your sheep or your whatever. And so you take one of them, you shoot one of them, and then you wrap them in barbed wire around the fence. And the other coyotes see that and they go, well, there's a lot of us, but he got one of us there, and I'm gonna think this over again. And
Or
I
on a much darker level, some of the special forces guys I've interviewed, they're like, how do you get 10 prisoners to behave when you're in wherever? Iraq. They're spitting on you. And I go, what? And they go, when one of them punches or spits at you, you chop his fucking head off in front of his friends because they all fall in line. All right.
that kind of makes sense. You know, the Nazis used to do that. Yeah.
It's dark.
The Nazis used to do that, and
oh yeah, and the V2 factories in Nordhausen, they used to hang them from. They used to hang guys that didn't work fast enough from the cranes.
yeah, middle work and all that.
Yeah, it's the Mittelwerks, Nordhausen.
It's our it's instead of those management slogans, we all work together here.
Yeah.
It's they hang a sign around us next saying one of us didn't work together.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know?
The Harz Mountains. Yeah. What was it? It was Auschwitz. The work will make you free. There was another one. There was another metal sign that's much less known, and it's called "Every Man Gets What He Deserves." And I forget which concentration camp that was over, but that one's kind of even more dark, I think.
It's fun to say that one, although it's a horrible phrase. Arbeit macht frei. Work will set you free.
I mean, and please, nobody clip this, but like work does set you. When you work hard, you get what you when you put your nose to the grindstone and work your ass off. When you stop blaming other people, that's how like my podcast started to succeed. When I stop blaming everyone else and I go, hey, if I want to stop being fat, I just got to go to the gym every day. You got to stop eating Taco Bell. In work does set you free. Somebody, I mean, I guess we're already banned from YouTube. It doesn't matter, but
I think that's kind of true, actually. And I mean, what
Jocko
they're
Willing
saying
is saying, the Navy SEAL guy, sorry to interrupt, his famous saying, discipline equals freedom. Tell me that's not the fucking same thing.
Yeah, it is. I think I think what they're saying is if you slow down, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So freedom in this sense is another day, of breathing. And I do think that it is. I can see your point. Is just kind of this gradual reduction of your expectations of a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And this. I always look at these things with Trump and go, is this kind of like a school play? Is this staged to get a whole bunch of people to go on social media and flip out, and then now they're getting dossiered, and now they're getting IRS audits, and
I don't know if you saw that thing that I guess in the last couple of days it came out, or at least in the last couple of days I saw it, that the FBI gave Google a hidden order, like where they can't talk about it, like a gag order, like a national security, where like you can get like a demand from in like the name of national security, and you can't talk about it, and you also can't talk about the fact you can't talk about it. Not that I feel like Google has any qualms with doing it anyway, but the FBI had them put up a classified geofence around the Capitol on January 6th to just tag every phone. And that's what people are saying now is they want to tag everyone because a bunch of people are going to Mar-a-Lago, and I think what they're trying to do is they're dragging it. They're trying to pull out the supporters. They're like, because you have people that are like, it's time to take up arms, and it's like you dipshits, don't say that.
Yeah,
might be that. And again, it comes down to, is it because that they are like they're so sure that the game's over, that they've destroyed the Republic, or are they cornered and they're going, we gotta throw the Hail Mary?
See, I think every one of these things reveals their hand. It's sort of like in warfare where whenever you fire your weapon, like in Ukraine, it's like expect incoming mail, in the next 5 minutes because you just put a nice plume out there, of where you're.
It's what Dale says. Dale's the former Delta Force guy, CIA operative. He was like, Taliban, they don't have any of the night vision or like the IR satellites. But he's like, they are smart. They'll just fire and hope that you fire back. because even with like a suppressor, there's still some muzzle flash. So he's like, you never fire back. You just try to listen for it.
And then fire some kind of mortar back at it or something
Yeah,
that
and then
doesn't. Yeah.
you fucking hit him with a drone from 50,000 feet. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so this one I thought was pretty obvious as far as the metadata. I always go for the metadata.
Yeah.
Go for the muzzle flash, which is uh, if you look at who this guy's assistant was, Peter Navarro's assistant was a guy named Matt Pottinger, and he's the guy who got supposedly. Well, first of all, he's the Zelig of coronaviruses. He was there during the breakout of SARS. It broke out at his hotel, one floor down from him in 2003. He's there, the first guy to know that it's going to be a pandemic. His brother, Paul, helped introduce at the University of Washington the test for coronavirus. Oh, that's nice. His wife, Yen Pottinger, along with Deborah Birx, did the HIV test, right? So this guy is somehow knows before anybody else, because he's got special contacts and he speaks Mandarin inside China, that coronavirus is going to be a huge thing. Again, go to the emails and what the private emails were about. The private emails were about the breakout of coronavirus. And the reason why I think they used the private emails was they wanted to catch Trump saying, oh, we're not shutting this economy down because 5 people got sick. You're looking for some kind of insensitive email. And then later you could say 2 million died because Trump didn't want to slow his economy down. And they kept waiting for that and they didn't get it. And Pottinger was on January 3rd. Again, this is what I think the emails are going to be when we finally get to the server and the files that got planted there. But and the other thing is, I think you got to go with people who were actually at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Doing national security level briefings at Mar-a-Lago. The whole White House didn't go down to Mar-a-Lago; just the national security people did for the around Christmas time. And Pottinger was one of them, and Navarro was one of them. So they had access. They know where to say, I put the files in that cabinet. You need that level of specificity for your
warrant.
Right? So you have to go with that group. So there's 2 possible suspects. Maybe there's 3. If somebody else wants to name who all the other people were, great. But I'm looking at what were they tempting Trump with on the 3rd. I'll just give you a quick chronology. On the 3rd, Pottinger calls the Health and Human Services Secretary, Azar, and he calls Robert Redfield, the director of the CDC. He has knowledge of a coming pandemic. He has knowledge of a test kit, a non-CDC test kit that could test all the people coming back from China and nip this thing in the bud, right? On the 14th, he calls out of protocol, breaks protocol, and calls a big powwow of those same people officially.
Sorry, the 3rd and 14th of what?
January 2020.
Okay.
Sorry. January 2020. Now, what happens on the 25th of January? Chinese New Year. Nancy Pelosi is going down to San Francisco saying, hey, everybody come down here and rub elbows and find a Chinese girlfriend for the weekend. Right? But wait a minute here. Matt Pottinger, director of the CDC, Redfield, Azar, all your staff, you're going to let Nancy Pelosi have a huge, block party for the Chinese New Year? Then it's only 2 days later that Pottinger decides to then have the big meeting with Trump, and he recommends the travel ban. And what he says, he gets Trump to drop the first F-bomb of the national security meeting, supposedly the first F-bomb. Maybe he said F-bombs before, but 2 days after the block party, the Nancy Pelosi, not block party, blocks party. The Chinese New Year in San Francisco is gigantic, right? 2 days later, he says it's going to be like the 1918 flu. He calls together this thing, and Trump says, is it going to be as bad as SARS? No, it's going to be like the 1918 flu. And Trump drops the F-bomb. That's 2 days later. On the 3rd, you were concerned enough to call everybody at the highest levels. On the 14th, you were concerned enough to break protocol and have a big meeting, so you were on record. And then you forgot about it when Nancy Pelosi was doing the big Chinese New Year. And all these people, by the way, from China that are going to cause the pandemic are coming to the United States to celebrate Chinese New Year with their families. That to me weird. Then he holds up and delays the kits, the CDC, the non-CDC kits that would catch people after Trump puts in the travel ban. The thing that threw them off, this is what I think the evidence is, they had the plan evidence. The thing that threw them off is Trump said, you know what, you're right, let's do the travel ban. February 2nd, Trump throws a travel ban in. So from the 27th of January, Trump thinks about it for 2 days till the end of 31st. He orders it in, and it starts on the February the 2nd. Well, Pottinger carves out a loophole for these Chinese students still to come into the country. Why? What you just said it was going to be worse than the 1918 pandemic, and now you're carving a loophole. Well, it all makes sense that it seems like they're trying to pour gasoline on the fire. It all makes sense if you know who Matt Pottinger's dad was. Matt Pottinger's dad was a guy named Stan Pottinger, the guy who did Deep Throat.
Wow.
And got Kissinger out. Working for Kissinger got Nixon out. He worked with Mark Felt of the FBI to get Kissinger out.
Mark Felt was Deep Throat, right?
Right, but Stan Pottinger, his father, Stan Pottinger also wrote a book about getting the last Nazi out of Nazi Germany, the bioweapons guy, to bring what? A deadly virus to the United States and cause a what pandemic to allow the lockdown and the takeover of this new Nazified regime. Sound familiar? Yeah, it kind of does. It's called The Last Nazi. And I could go on about Stan Pottinger.
Please do.
Lyndon LaRouche said Kissinger and Pottinger want to undermine me because I outed, along with this guy named Gulanowski, I outed Kissinger as the Boer, the secret guy who helped all the Nazis get into our national laboratories and Soviet laboratories on both sides to keep the balance of power. So the best buddy of Matt Pottinger, who does it turn out to be? Not Trump, Henry Kissinger. So I hate to say it, but this is another Kissinger kind of, well, we need to move the world, got to move the ball forward, whatever the agenda is, but we need another 9/11. Let's do another 9/11. And this one was what it was. It was a bio bomb.
A new Pearl Harbor. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that's how they move the ball forward. And now you're probably right. They're like, maybe we can convince everybody that this is Jan 6th. But maybe we can bury the evidence about the coronavirus lures that we tried that didn't work and then make everybody think this is Jan 6th. And that's what I think they're trying to push is this was a big Jan 6th. They're trying to push the idea that Matt Pottinger and Navarro went down to Mar-a-Lago on like Christmas in 2020 and planned January 6th. Hey, if this doesn't go our way, we'll have all these people come to Washington and then we'll take over.
Overthrow, yeah.
But that's not there in the files. So anyway, that's my... If your dad tries to overthrow a president and gets rid of a president, well, as a kid, you got to do one better. You got to at least do something that's never been done before, like raid a president's home.
Do you think, well, one I was going to say, do you think they planted evidence there? But another thing I was going to say is back to what you're saying about squeezing. It does kind of go in line with the Great Reset, right? COVID shuts down all these stores except for Walmart, Amazon, whatever, right? You kind of destroying the underbrush and only letting the giant redwood businesses, because it's a lot easier to control a handful of mega nationals as opposed to thousands, hundreds of thousands of mom and pop stores, right? The idea of the federal control system. It's almost like this is like in World War I, when they would do like they called it like the weed whacker, where they would just do like an artillery kind of sweep, almost like a speedometer gauge, and then they would send in the was it like the Flammenwerfers, like the Germans with the pickle helmets and the first flamethrowers. So they would send in the just to go in and burn everyone that wasn't killed by the artillery. Like COVID and the lockdowns was the first squeeze, right? The biggest upward transfer of wealth in human history. And then, like, for whoever survived, 87,000 new IRS agents. And that's going to be, because you hear it at face value, and obviously it sounds bad, right? Growing federal government's bad, IRS bad. But there's also like pay your taxes. Well, you're looking at it from right now, August 10th, 2022. What new taxes are coming in 2023, 2024? And all of a sudden, there's an army of IRS agents bigger than the Pentagon authorized to use deadly force for whatever monkeypox tax or, climate change tax or save the polar bears tax or we need to groom the kids tax. And now it's even harder to resist.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the great reset thing where it's like no private individual should have land.
Yeah.
You should be happy with the container that we're going to give you and the VR. Yeah, and and the state really knows way better what to do with your land than you do. And all you do is you're just a big bad carbon footprint on your land anyway if you're raising cattle. And if you're raising vegetables, you're not much better because you do it inefficiently and you don't do it like our robots do. So
and you're
you
not
really
using our Monsanto products and
you really shouldn't, and plus you probably stole it from the Indians anyway.
Yeah, you
And
racist,
Greta,
misogynist.
yeah. So, there's a whole bunch of series of like rationalizations you could start with. The Nazis, were really good at it.
Oh yeah.
So I think that may be, this so overwhelming all happening at once. I think there is a psychological shock and awe to this. But I do like extracting. This is why I don't go there because that's where they want you to go and do kind of like a
doom spiral.
Yeah, they want just a whole bunch of people go out and get OxyContin 80 pills and that's it.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah,
but this is, hey, wait a minute, if you're going to do deep state maneuvers in the dark, then I'm going to go ahead and expose it, and I'm going to go ahead and expose your father taking out Nixon, and then now you think you can take out Trump, and everybody's going to know Matt Pottinger now for the weasel he is, like the weasel his dad was. Oh, well, thank you. Before I didn't have, I mean, I did shows about this a year ago with Pottinger, but nobody cared. But now he's in Trump, Mar-a-Lago plotting against Trump. Now it's easy to get people's attention, so people are reading it like crazy. It's like, oh, that's what he meant. Oh, I get it. So I think that's how we have to be as journalists. We got to extract the thing the last thing. Like I say, every action leaves a trace. Every action, gives us some metadata. Yeah. And that's the silver lining. And that's why my Substack is georgewebb.substack.com. GeorgeWebb@substack.com. And I'm going to start.
I will also put your Venmo in, as I always do.
And throw the PayPal in there too.
I kind of know. Send me the PayPal. I don't have.
Oh yeah, I'll send you the PayPal.
Yeah, I'll update my George Webb bio. Copy paste.
Yeah. So I think what you're doing. I thought of you as like, the way I talk about myself when I talk about Silicon Valley and the internet and everything. That's how you're going to be with podcast or video casting. Like I remember back in
the day,
I was in my bedroom doing broadcasting before I owned CNN's broadcast center here. I was nobody. I was in a.
I'm gonna be that cold, aloof, Carnegie, like Rockefeller kind of archetype in the big, like cold marble boardroom in Manhattan. And they'd be like, I can't get it started, and I'd be like, I got it started with a MacBook above a garage while working at a liquor store in a pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, come on, kid.
I'd own the world if I had half the leads you had. I had nothing but an email.
And what would really be great is if you would give out dimes like Rockefeller used to, give out shiny dimes. As long as you give out a shiny dime, I guess it's okay. I don't even know if we'll have coins by then, but
no.
Maybe that's the good news that happens here. Everybody goes, hey, I didn't realize the thing they're trying to hide is that this Pottinger guy, he has this contacts to Kissinger. Maybe this will unfold the whole Kissinger conspiracy. People talk about the deep state. You know, we were going to be on today with Peter Dale Scott, but you said he had COVID, so prayers and thoughts for him. We're going to do a makeup, right?
Next
Yeah.
week, yeah.
But he's the one who coined the term deep state.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a very shallow state. It's about one Kissinger deep, and then add a Schwab, which is about half the depth of a Kissinger, and then add a Kolomoisky, which is about a quarter of the depth of the Schwab. It's about 2.5 feet deep. But if you get those guys, it's like Valkyrie times 5.
Yeah.
You know, Operation Valkyrie. I mean, nobody's left.
Yeah. It's a beautifully, in the sense that it's like what Brigadier General Robert Spalding says about China. He's like, you have to respect them because they're waging a beautiful war. The deep state is beautiful, not in the sense that they're, not demonic pedophile eugenicists, but it's a beautifully crafted illusion of an overwhelming monolith. I think they have power, but I think you're right. I think it's more of like a film, it's more of like a film on a surface, right? You get a little bit of oil on the surface of like a pond. If you don't know any better, you go, there's a fucking pond of oil. But it's like, no, it's just this sheen on the top. And it has the psychological effect of them seeing almighty, like they can't fall.
Yep.
And it's a way to expand your, like the inflatable tanks we would put to throw diversions. It's a way to, as long as the enemy thinks you're overwhelming, they will act in a fearful, paranoid way. I think you're right. I think it's a shallow state.
Wizard of Oz, that's why I have all those smoke and mirrors, and then Toto. I've always said from the beginning of this thing, we need a little Yorkshire Terrier. That's all we need to take this deep state out. That knows how to pull the curtain back on Kissinger. If we get Kissinger, we got 90% of the deal, right? And I don't mean like get harm. I just mean expose Pottinger to Kissinger, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, this is another Kissinger coup," just like his dad, And everybody goes, "Oh, that's what it's all about." We don't have to worry about the 87,000 IRS agents. Those were all the inflatable tanks Tommy talked about. It's just Kissinger again. And I saw, Tommy, not to divert, but I saw that the dogs, the beagles that were slated for inhumane testing, where they're going to put their fleas in their ears.
The sandflies, yeah.
Yeah. All 4,000 dogs were liberated. All the beagles were liberated in Virginia, and they're putting them up for adoption.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now, who said we don't do warm, fuzzy puppy stories?
We do. We goddamn right we do. We will shift from Mengele to puppies.
And these are beautiful little puppies. If you see it, I don't want people to shift away yet from our broadcast. We're not going to go much longer. But check these puppies out, and then you think, hey, this puppy was brought to me by Tommy and George Webb. Wow, these guys are great. They stopped Kissinger one day, plus they gave us puppies. Yeah. Beautiful beagle puppies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we could train one beagle puppy to pull the curtain back on Kissinger. We're done here.
We're fucking wash my hands of this bullshit. Close this podcast down for good. We're done.
We are done.
We'll walk off into the sunset. We'll throw down we'll take off our masks of George and Tommy and just vanish. My work here is like one of the stars on the CIA's wall, right? They served in silence.
I mean, we got 4,000. Here's what I thought is like, we've got 4,000 dogs. If we just had one dog that was smart enough to pull back the curtain and just have the rest of them watch it and just say, kind of get them all and just release them en masse, all 4,000, like 100 Dalmatians times 40 in Kissinger's house, and put GoPro cameras on every one of them.
On their little snoots.
We're done here.
Yeah.
We'll see all the people.
People are watching this and they're like, is there a gas leak in like their respective rooms? These two psychopaths just went from the Mar-a-Lago raid to GoPro wearing beagles taking down Kissinger.
Yeah, it's a flight of fancy. I felt good for the Beagles.
I
I
liked
have
it.
to admit,
Oh yeah.
it. Did you see the story? Did you see it?
No, I didn't know that happened. I knew about the Sandfly story. I didn't know that, but that they all got that's beautiful.
Yeah, the so if nothing else happens in this podcast, this puppy mill that was churning these things out for the sandfly, it was horrible. They were eating their ears out and stuff, and these dogs are like they're
They
half of it.
yeah, what is it? Debarked them where they take out the vocal cords so they wouldn't have to hear them barking.
And and the fact that they liberated them, I think it's just one of those things. I don't know if it's a psyop or not, but it came out the same day of the raid and the 87,000 agents.
That might
So
be a psyop, George.
yeah, it might
We
be a
might be
psyop.
taking a hook, line, and sinker.
We might be. I think it's one of those things like, okay, I'm either getting the Oxycontin or
And
I'm going to watch.
on top of the 87,000 agents, they've also added 4,000 canine units. Like fuck.
But they're awfully cute. And
Yeah.
so anyway, we pray for Peter, and I wrote the subtext. I'm going to be going to a paid model where I'm going to do one book a month at $5, 99 pages. And but if you have Venmo or if you have PayPal, please help.
I'll
But
put those into this.
but
And you said you're re-releasing your books on Substack. If I saw your tweet the other
I'm
day.
updating them all. I've rewritten them a couple of times already, but I'm updating them all, and you'll get a brand new version. But the IRS has all my money. Everything I already have is sold and gone into citizen journalism. They taxed the crap out of me when I was making decent money, so I was paying just ridiculous. Oregon was just on the state tax was 12%, 13%. Yeah, so I mean it was just on top of 35%. So it was like and I do think it is a psychological operation to do this the same day of the Trump raid.
Absolutely.
It has to be. Yeah.
It's we're increasing the size and scope of the federal government. It's here is the precedent for what we will do, and now here are the numbers for how we and logistically can do it.
And to call it the anti-inflation bill.
No, the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, yeah, which is like
the IRA. It seems like they're just spurring a fucking. That they want someone to snap. They want some patriot front guy from Langley, right? If they can't get an organic one, they want someone to start shooting. They do. They're poking. They're poking because if you react, then they can justify a crackdown with most of the public going along with it. They want you
right.
to react. They want you to say enough's enough and to just go locked and loaded. They want that. They want you to flip out.
Yep, and I think spraying is not far behind. I just went to England and did a tour of 10 different universities that work with at Wellcome Trust. And I thought I cracked the code. I thought I cracked the case for coronavirus, who actually did it, who done it, with this person named Virginia Benassi, this Benassi V at who.int. She also got all the bids for the Wellcome Trust. That's what led me to the Wellcome Trust. And man, I'm telling you, Tommy, I went to Cambridge, and I went to the one in between Cambridge and London. I went to London, and I went to Oxford, and I went to Birmingham, and I went to the University of Warwick, and I went to all these different places. They got these Wellcome Trust DNA centers everywhere. And it's just all one big Manhattan project for the bio bomb, right? That's what it is, right? It's Henry Kissinger's wet Oxfordian royalist dream. It's like Rhodes is being summoned from the dead. It's such a huge bio bomb project, right? And what I got out of it was we're on Rumble, right? We're not on YouTube.
We've been banned from YouTube for
Yeah.
in a couple of weeks. It'll be a year.
Here's my theory.
There's nothing you can't say here. You can't call for violence. That's the.
Oh no.
That's just like federal law. That's not Rumble law.
But you mentioned Mountbatten, and you mentioned IRA and the Irish Republic, and you just keep heaping it on people until they snap, right? And Mountbatten was the guy who was in charge of the guy who got blown up by the IRA on the boat. He was the guy who was in charge of that operation. Low intensity operations to get people to snap. and then they would, go there
Crack
and
down.
raid their house with 50 soldiers, and that's how they got all the stuff. Well, if Mountbatten's cousin married the Queen of England, Elizabeth, and
The,
Philip,
the Duke of Edinburgh.
and he's also the guy who lost India. You watch that movie that's about Philip. It's Churchill's coming in. John Lithgow plays him. He goes, they're going to the wedding where they're getting married, and he goes, "Yeah, I got to go to the wedding of the guy who lost India."
Dude, Philip looked like he died 5 years before he died.
Yeah, he was getting.
Dude, that was. I mean, that guy. I mean, I hate to give like credence to these, but that's where you start to look and you're like, are they using some fucking thing to stay alive? Like, you hate to, right? Because you poison the well when you start. Right. We're talking about Pottinger. We're talking about Welcome Trust. We're talking about all this stuff. And then it's like, and they're sucking the blood from kids' necks. And it's like, oh, well, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But you look at like a Kissinger or like a Poppy Bush or a Philip, and you're like, this is.
They might be doing that.
You're like, am I?
David Rockefeller had like 12 heart transplants.
Yeah. And it was like,
so
Cheney is, me and my
Cheney,
buddy,
same thing. Yeah.
we're talking about how Cheney is like, he doesn't even have a heart anymore. He just has tubes coming out of his chest, and around him are like 12 Minority Report vats of like nutrients of just like Boy Scouts laying in there, and they're just pumping fresh blood from these children, just little fucking Hitler youth.
And we know we're joking now. We've gone into the comedy.
I'm not. That's fact. I've seen it. I've seen it. I have the documents.
Well, I wanted to get back to Charles for one. I mean,
okay. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Philip,
sorry.
for 1 second.
Guy that lost
And
India.
all I'm saying is that, when he said he wanted to come back as a virus, I finally, yeah, he said, I want to come back, and if there's reincarnation, I want to come back as a virus. And I finally figured out why he said that. You can look at that up. Because they were losing so many English possessions, and India was the crown jewel.
Mm-hmm.
That was Queen Victoria, his mom or his grandmother. That was the crown jewel. I think it was his grandmother. And he never could get that off his gravestone, right?
Yeah.
And why did they win? Why did the Indians win? There was more of them than there were of us. They just had numbers on us. The only way we could have beaten them is by developing a killer virus. And he was best pals with Sir Henry Wellcome, who was working on that project.
Oh, Jesus.
I think, I swear to God, I think that he and Mountbatten, his cousin, were putting everything into this slightly, low intensity warfare bio agent, spray a primary, find and fix, then come back later and spray a secondary, the ones you want to get rid of. After you IRS tag them all, sort of like Passover, where you just mark the doors where you want to get. Yeah, just have all these IRS agents. They just have spray cans.
You just pin your W-2 above your door. Yeah. Save us.
And that's it. That's the family is done. The secondary goes on the door and it's over.
Yeah.
That's the dream of going around all these Welcome Trust things. You can't believe it, but it is true. They had it in Egypt. They had it in Iraq. Churchill used the gas in Halabja in Iraq. They used it all over Africa. They used it in the Middle East. They just felt like they were the better custodians of the land and the oil and the resources than the native people. That's exactly what's in this bill here, this Inflation Reduction Act. It's population inflation that they're going after.
They never stated what inflation was.
Yeah, it's Inflation Reduction Act. Like
we just assume it's money.
Yeah.
No, they didn't say what it was.
I think this is the Prince Philip Act. I think America needs a virus is what this is. And here comes the Welcome Trust. I would encourage everybody to read my Substack of who Virginia Benassi is and how she's getting all these bids from the WHO and the Welcome Trust.
Absolutely.
Learn who this is. And that's my pitch for my Substack.
Beautiful. Just to, I guess, kind of bring it in is, so it is the silver, like you can't, like you said, you can't start circling the drain in a doom spiral, right? You can't start taking the Oxycontin and staying in bed. They want that. They want to break. That's the point of propaganda, right? That's the
Right.
we have you surrounded, even if they don't. That's the point of psychological warfare. But you have to find the silver lining for your own mental health, right? Even if the war is lost, don't cede your mind. That's the only thing you have left, right? Like Gandhi in prison or something, like, or not Gandhi, Nelson, like use your time, use your own mind, and never give over your mind. Um, but then there's also some. I do think there is some rational reason for silver linings in that, although it seems like they're grabbing for power at a faster and faster rate, this sort of global coup that's been decades in the making, maybe centuries. It also is at a hyper accelerated rate, and I hate this term so much because it's so overused, but waking people up. I mean, you have to be like me when like my family moved to like New England, like the middle of my like high school, like, and I like didn't have any friends and like I didn't want to make new friends. So I would just spend my time on Wikipedia, and I would always like clicking on an article, and then I'd scroll down and I'd go to like the related articles, and I would just go down rabbit holes. And that's how I was like 17 and reading about like Lawrence Livermore, like laboratory and like Shiva Star and using electromagnetic pulses to shoot down satellites, and everyone else was trying to get laid. And I'm like, they were shooting plasma coils into the moon at 10,000 meters a second in the 80s. And they're like, bro. But you used to kind of you had to have a natural curiosity or just I don't know, a lust for something sexier to go down these rabbit holes. But now the average person, it's like the early cell phones. You had to be rich as hell, a Wall Street CEO to have one, versus they kind of come online with the flip phones, the iPhones, whatever. You no longer have to go out of your way to go find conspiracies. There's no longer just a handful. You know, did we go to the moon? Who hacked JFK? 9/11. It's being drawn into the mainstream to such an they never had to censor before. They knew you could go on and watch, you know, a 40-part series on how Israel did 9/11. You just watch it. It's just because there was no real threat to anyone. The fact that they have to censor it, to me, is a silver lining. It's a genuine silver, and maybe it's my own delusion just to propagate mental health in myself, which again, I don't care. I'm happy with. But I think there is reason for they have to censor it because it is such a it's not just, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. I mean, you're fucking the guy comes and fixes your air conditioner, and they're like, dude, what do you think about that raid on the on Trump's house? And it's like, when would we ever have this discussion? When you're at the gas station and you take your mask off, the other guy takes his mask off, he's a fucking Chinese bioweapon. Like, when would you have these like red pill? Like, these were normally reserved to things where it's like you and your buddies in a frat, like sitting on the roof of the frat house at 2 a.m, ripping a bong, and you're like, do you think they're gonna ever try to like depopulate? Like, you used to have to be so fucked up to even kind of bring these things out. And now my most viewed episodes are with Dr. McCullough and Dr. Malone openly talking about it being a bioweapon and like a vaccine extermination event or something or whatever.
Well, McCullough has done some great stuff on the myocarditis and stuff,
Oh yeah.
and Malone is a great communicator as well. And so you've got great guests, so I'm just honored to be on the
Oh,
channel.
you.
Yeah, but to get back to your silver lining story, first of all, we threw the Beagles in there.
Put the Beagles in there.
Welcome,
We gave you one.
we, Welcome Trust doesn't have the Beagles in. Where was that? Egypt or wherever they were doing that. So Welcome Trust, no Beagles. Two, we outed Prince Philip, and he's dead. So
Or
we
something.
didn't smear him. Yeah, we didn't smear him.
We didn't do
And
shit.
we outed what happened in India, and we outed the Welcome Trust. I gave you the solution, and we solved coronavirus, the conspiracy there. We told you we only needed one Yorkshire Terrier or a Beagle, to pull the curtain back on Henry Kissinger, which is pretty easy, very
Mhm.
shallow, shallow state, not a deep state. Right. So there's a lot here, right? Plus we added Matt Pottinger. Plus we added Navarro. So there are a lot of good things happen here in an hour. And all you have to do is retweet. All you have to do is subscribe to Tommy, uh, and tell your friends about his channel. And then we win.
And go check out
That's
George
the
Webb's Substack.
that's the silver lining as far as I'm concerned. It's they we took the best they could throw at us, like you said, and we did a show about it, and we came up with like 7 ways to win. That's a win
I also
against, you know,
I also genuinely, and I don't even say this to be funny, I genuinely think there is power, even if it's just personal empowerment, in never ceding the real estate of your mind. That doesn't mean stick your head in the sand and say, "Oh, the Holocaust isn't happening." They're rounding up the Jews. That doesn't mean be oblivious. That doesn't mean numb yourself. That also doesn't mean take drugs and just, well, I'm not going to pay attention. But there is something about staring evil in the face, doing your part every day, read about it, talk about it, spread it, whatever, and not giving them your mind. Still going, my slippers are fuzzy. Got some clean drinking water here. The sun's shining. I went to the gym today, did some push-ups. My arms work. I got mail. The mail system still works. Well, what if they take all these away? Well, then you find the next thing. No, I'm breathing. I'm awake. I am the miracle of consciousness. I do think that even if it's over, even if the tsunami is blocking out the sun, there is personal empowerment in never ceding your mind. Because once you break yourself, it's like the end goal of censorship is self-censorship. Don't if they're going to run psychological operations, make them expend everything. Make them kill you. Never cede your mind, because that is the ultimate defeat. Even if you're lined up in front of a firing squad, don't cede your mind. And I don't mean SEED. I mean, secede. Don't give it to them. Don't let them have it. Don't let them make you doom spiral. Like, no matter what. Like, yeah, they just raided Trump's house and they're bringing on 87,000 new agents. But the Beagles are free. Like, and that doesn't
can
mean
I
be
say something?
yeah, I don't know.
You about the Beagles?
Yeah.
These are Welcome Trust Beagles that have been saved from Welcome Trust horrible experiments so they can figure out how to kill Indians better for their viruses. Adopt one. These are 4,000 Beagles are going up for adoption. So adopt, call them Welcome or call them Trust or
Philip
call
or
call them
India
Philip or
from
India. Call them
India.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
Gunga if you want.
Yeah.
But strike a blow against the Welcome Trust today. Adopt one of these dogs, and then every time a friend of yours comes by and goes, "Well, you know what? It's a funny story about this beagle. How I got this beagle. I was watching Tommy and George Webb, and they were talking about Phyllis wanting to come back in another life as a virus, and that's why they wanted to test on these beagles. And it's going to be a great conversation starter. So
Absolutely.
I like everything you're saying. There's a book called I know we got to go, but Snow Crash. It's about everybody living in boxes and everybody has little VR headsets and nobody realizes it's sort of like Klaus Schwab's
Mm-hmm.
end
Wet
game.
dream. Yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody goes out and gets a skateboard and then starts figuring out, hey, they took my car away, but they still do pizza delivery. And I can grab on the back of a bumper and then go just as fast and go anywhere the cars go. And this whole skateboard society is created of people who have gotten out of their house. That's who we got to be. We got to, like you say, we got to be nimble. We can't be like giver
Oblivious.
uppers.
Yeah.
Yeah, giver uppers, and we'll figure it out. We just gave you 7 ways to win today out of only one day of bad news.
Yeah.
So I think we did good for
I
ourselves,
think we
Tommy.
did fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll go to George's Substack, go to his Venmo, send me your PayPal, I'll put it in there. Help, but yeah, go to the Twitters, all that good stuff. And again, don't give over your mind. Don't let them take that from you.
And I'd love to see the big IRS raid with the 50 guys with the MRAPs and the helicopter and everything. And they get in there and they open up the drawer and they see like $84.
I'd love no. There's just
and then they go, how are we going to divide this
how
84 by?
they go in there and it's just a hard drive of my shitty podcast. That's all they're like. It's just 800
and a couple
episodes
thumb drives.
and a couple thumb drives. There's no national security. It's some guy just scream. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. But
yeah.
with that,
So don't fear the IRS agents. Yeah,
don't fear
there
the
you go,
IRS
Tom.
reapers. And yeah, and just don't give over to these demonic eugenicist pedophiles because that's what they are. Be the beagle. Find the sunlight.
Be the beagle.
George Webb, I love you, brother. I'll send this to you when
Love
it's
you
up.
too.
Take care, everybody. Again, never see it over your mind. Love each other.